The Razer Viper V3 Pro is the new G Pro X. Now, what I mean by that is when the G Pro X released back in 2020, it instantly became the pinnacle, or well, the golden standard of gaming and also esports, and it held the crown for over 3 years. It does have a universal shape that does fit many grip styles, a real high quality build and top tier performance. But for the most part, I do feel it's an overhyped mouse, and that's where the Viper V3 Pro comes in. The mouse has changed dramatically coming from the Viper V2 Pro. From the coating of the shell to the inferior clicks, the bad shape that just left me feeling disappointed in the product as a whole and just wanting more. And now majority of the issues that I've had with the previous Vipers have been fixed. The shape has seen a massive overhaul, where the hump has been raised while still remaining more center focused, giving it a more support for palm and claw. The sides have also grown in height, giving more real estate for the thumb, ring and pinky fingers. But on top of that, the V3 Pro has flatter sides, but they're also curved enough that it still gives your thumb a groove to rest in and roll out of, but also having a nice little back flare out that supports the thumb in comparison to the V3 Pro having a very aggressive back flare out that had me feeling very weird spots of pressure on my base of my pinky joints and my thumb. Now the clicks seem basically the same in regards to the comfort grooves, but the V3 Pro's deeper grooves have seen a subtle but nice change to the main clicks feeling more comfortable and well rounded. But the actual click feel has been topped massively with them using the new Gen 3 optical switches. It feels more tactile and fuller body. But the gripe I have with opticals is that they'll never physically feel as nice and snappy and responsive as mechanical switches, sometimes creating a lazier feeling experience, and pairing that with a decent pre-travel but lesser feeling post-travel. The side buttons also saw a subtle change, with the V3 Pro having them the slightest bit shorter, taller and also a bit more spaced out, feeling more dialed in and solid with minimal amounts of pre-travel and post-travel. Lastly, from the clicks we do have the scroll wheel. It is extremely solid. There is no signs of instability, the scroll steps are really solid, having more tactility with them using a TTC silver encoder, as well as the dreaded plunger style switch, but it's not implemented badly at all in this case. And before we get into the power of the Viper, there is just a couple things I would like to mention. The weight of the mouse comes in at 54 grams, but it feels way lighter than that considering there's more space inside to have everything splayed out a bit more. The coating is probably the biggest improvement to me, as it was generally the biggest complaint for people on the V2 Pro, where we initially had this gross textured raw plastic shell, and now we have this velvety and slightly grippier feeling rubber coating. But also something to keep in mind is that there is a difference between the two color variations. The white will be the grippier of the two available, but if you do prefer the black aesthetic, it isn't an issue as you do get grips included, which also aren't half bad. I'm a big fan of the shape, and the performance I feel is honestly just a bonus on top of that, but it's also nothing to write off completely. The Viper V3 Pro makes use of their new Focus Pro 35K optical Gen 2 sensor, being able to push polling rates up to 8K Hz, like we've seen on the newer releases of their mice. Now, some of you may have watched my previous video being on the OP1 8K. I talk about there being maybe 1 or 2 different mice where I could really feel the difference when changing the polling rate higher to 4K Hz and 8K Hz, and this is one of those mice. The Viper V3 Pro sensor is insanely smooth in comparison to majority of the other high Hz available mice, even on my lesser Hz panel being only 144 Hz. Leading me to keep it on 8K Hz at all times, and usually that would cause a massive hit in battery life. But it's actually not that bad on the V3. I've used it every day for 2 to 4 hours and have recharged it less than 3 times since I've had it. It feels really good in all the games I've played on it, and surprisingly with no stuttering issues. I'm just bloody impressed. The mouse is not on the cheaper spectrum at $160, but I can confidently say that if you're someone keen on getting a one and done mouse, this is it. It won't leave my rotation until I get the white version with the better coating. Thank you so much for watching, take care, and